We finally made it, as they say. Moscow has been under a significant drone attack by the Ukrainian armed forces for 3 consecutive days, according to Russian complaints about unidentified drones striking the city. Because of this, Russians are implementing the cover plan, which involves closing the airspace to civilian aircraft. Well, that's why there are all these videos on social media where Russians are complaining that they're being kept for hours or even days in Moscow airports. But what's funny is that the Kremlin is so powerless in this situation that they're just lashing out like savages at those who are definitely not to blame for any of this. The day before, Rosaviatsia warned the company, one of the few airlines maintaining Russia's connection with the outside world, about a possible reduction in the number of flights to and from Russia. And do you know why? Yes, because a Turkish plane couldn't leave Moscow for a whole day due to Russia's cover plan. But the Russian Federal Air Transport Agency insisted that the Turks take off, despite the drone attack. And if they didn't take off, they demanded that the passengers be fed, given drinks, and accommodated in a hotel. And Turkish Airline said, listen, this isn't our problem. Go to Putin, contact the Kremlin, he's the one to blame. The recent attacks on Moscow over the past 3 days are significant. The consequences of these attacks remain to be seen. Before we begin, as usual, I ask you to subscribe to this channel, leave a like, write any comment you want, and be sure to subscribe to my Telegram channel, Peachy News. The link is in the video description where we publish breaking news as it arrives. There's panic in Moscow. For the 3rd day in a row, Ukraine has been attacking the Moscow region with drones, not giving Muscovites a moment to breathe. Fortunately, Muscovites are gradually getting accustomed to these attacks. Reportedly, Ukrainian drones intensified their attacks on the Moscow region on July 19th. Today, within half an hour, starting from 1800 hours. Air Defense Forces shot down 3 drones approaching the capital, reported Moscow Mayor Sergei Sobyanin. Residents of Troitsk near Moscow in particular reported explosions and a downed drone. Meanwhile, Rosaviatsia reported the implementation of the cover plan, which involves a ban on the departure and arrival of civilian flights at Domodedovo and Vnukovo airports. Earlier, flight restrictions were introduced at the Kaluga airport. Early in the morning, during another drone raid, the armed forces of Ukraine also closed Sheremetyevo airport. And remember this carpet plan here, because it will come up again later in a completely unexpected context. Last night, Sobyanin reported 13 Ukrainian drones shot down in the Moscow region. On July 18, according to the mayor of Moscow, 13 drones were also destroyed in the region, and on Thursday, another 4 targets. In summary, Ukrainian drones have been attacking Moscow for 3 days. The Russian Ministry of Defense, for its part, reported that during the night and throughout the day on Saturday, air defense systems managed to eliminate 20 Ukrainian drones in the Moscow region. According to the Russian Ministry of Defense report, another 14 drones were shot down in the region on July 18th. On the night of Thursday to Friday, 10 UAVs approaching Moscow were destroyed, and on July 17th, 4 more were eliminated. And in total, over 3 days, almost 50 Ukrainian armed forces drones were shot down around Moscow, the Russian capital. It's not much, but it's already good. With the increased raids on Moscow and the closure of airports in the Moscow air hub, serious flight delays have started again, according to local media. And then we see all these videos online where Russians are crying in airports because they have to sit for hours and wait out drone attacks. Later, the attacks by the Ukrainian armed forces also affected the Rostov region, where after drone debris fell and damaged the contact network on the Likaya-Zamchalova section, rail traffic was also paralyzed. And despite the Russian Railways' statement about restoring train service, passengers are still complaining about delays and having to sit for hours in train cars with broken air conditioning. In temperatures over 30 degrees, as dictator Putin said, things started moving. Russians, why aren't you happy? But as I promised, the carpet plan surfaced in a completely unexpected context. Rosaviatsia warned the company, one of the few airlines maintaining Russia's connection with the outside world, about a possible reduction or even a ban on flights to and from Russia. A notice is also being prepared for the carrier regarding the inadmissibility of violating passengers' rights. You might ask, so what happened? And here, it's just like a joke. The reason for the complaint was an incident at Moscow's Vnukovo airport, where passengers of the flight for almost a whole day couldn't fly to Bodrum because of delays and flight cancellations, which happened due to the introduction of the cover plan amid the activity of Ukrainian armed forces drones. On the evening of July 18, Russians who were supposed to board the plane at 3 in the morning started complaining and lashing out at the airline staff. Because, you see, they weren't giving food and water to the occupiers' accomplices, that is, the Russians, in the airport, and they also didn't provide a hotel. The Turkish airline, confused, stated that they were not responsible for the flight delay, and that's why they are not going to give any food or water to the Russians, and even more so, they are not going to put Russians up in hotels. It's not our responsibility to provide hotels. If the flight delay was our fault, we would offer food, water, and lodging. But as it is, listen, you've been sitting here for almost a day and it's not because of us. Let these same Russians go to their dictator Putin and ask him for food, water, hotels, and so on. It's because of him, because of Putin, because of his bloody war against Ukraine. Drones are attacking Moscow. The Russian occupiers are introducing the Kova regime because of this, and that's why planes can't take off. But what complaints can Russians have against the Turkish airline? What are you dissatisfied with? Well, now, Rosaviatia has already threatened to reduce the number of flights. I even hoped that the Turks would not just reduce, but completely stop taking Russians to the civilized world. Let them just stay in Moscow and pray to their Putin. That's all for now. Leave your thoughts and conclusions in the comments. Russians will definitely rush here now to write their comments. Let's have a laugh, folks. That's all for now. Take care. Goodbye, everyone. Subtitles created by